Hello, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Navigating the Bulk Billing Practice Incentive Program, the BBPIP. My name is Jan Sadler. I'm the manager of the Practice Support and Development team here at CESPN. Today, I am joined by my colleagues from the Practice Support and Digital Health teams, Amy O'Halloran and Kayla Waldy, and of course, our wonderful Bertha from our CPD team, who is the driver for our webinar tonight. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians and sovereign people of the land across which we work. I recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community, and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal colleagues who may be joining us tonight. We will try and get to all the questions, but you may find they may be covered in the presentation tonight. If we can't get to all questions, we will look at these and consider distributing an FAQ after the event. Just some highlighted upcoming events that you and your team may be interested in. On the 9th of October, we have a Cybersecurity for Your Practice event. On the Saturday, 18th of October, Practice Nurse Forum Day. Wednesday, the 29th of October, Responding to Sexual Violence in Primary Care. We also have some GP succession planning events coming up. These sessions are for GPs and practice owners and are designed to help practitioners at every stage of their career prepare for a smooth and successful transition. Whether you're planning to hand over your practice, bring in new partners, or simply want to future-proof your business, these sessions will provide practical insights and expert guidance. Upcoming dates are the 5th of November and the 19th of November, one in Sans Souci and the next one in East Lakes. They're both the same content, so you only need to attend one, so pick the one closest to you. Now to the presentation for this evening, Navigating the Bulk Billing Practice Incentive Program. As you know, there have been a lot of changes coming into general practice over the last couple of years around the My Medicare program. We understand it's a challenge out there to keep up with all these changes, but we do try and keep you updated the best way we can. So it's important you keep an eye out in your e-newsletter each week. Check your emails and our website for current information. Also, just as important, please don't hesitate to reach out to our support teams, the practice support and the digital health teams, especially around these changes. I'd like to give a shout out to our immunisation team, who are also here to support you with your vaccine management in your practice, which is equally as important. Now let's get on with the session. I'd like to introduce you to our speaker for today, Wendy O'Meara. Wendy has a long history in general practice spanning 25 years. Wendy currently works as a practice manager in a large 22 GP practice in Gisborne, Victoria, which keeps her very busy, I am sure. She is passionate about general practice and has a thorough understanding of all facets, with a special interest in MBS and chronic disease management. While working full-time, she still takes any opportunities to meet and work with new practice managers, guiding them through the complexities of general practice. She has been working as an education consultant since 2017. Thank you to Wendy for presenting tonight. Wendy gave a recent great presentation on the chronic conditions management changes, and you can see that recording on our CESPN YouTube channel. Now we will hand over to Wendy. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Welcome to probably one of the hottest topics around in general practice at the moment. And I'm hoping at the end of tonight's session, you will have a little bit more information to help you guide decisions around whether to participate in the upcoming changes or not. So what is coming? So basically, at the end of tonight's session, you will be able to should be able to understand the expansion to the bulk billing incentive that's due to take place on November 1 this year, and how that may implicate, what implications that has for your business. We'll also look at the BBPIP, or the Bulk Billing Practice Incentive, including what its purpose is, what the structure of it is, and how it can support practices in delivering accessible care. We will look at the online bulk billing calculator that was released this week, and how it can assist you to make an informed decision on whether to participate in the BBPIP or not. And we'll do a really quick recap on the changes coming to the Better Access program on November 1, if we get time. So let's get started. So the bulk billing, first of all, we're going to talk about the bulk billing incentive changes. So as you know, there are two components coming November 1. So the first is the expansion of the bulk billing incentive the bulk billing incentive. So And then the second one is the bulk billing incentive program. So I'm going to break them down into two separate areas. So the bulk billing incentive, 23rd of February this year, the government announced a $7.9 billion investment into encouraging general practices to bulk bill services in two ways. First of all, they're going to expand the bulk billing incentive items for all Australians. So anyone who has a Medicare card will now be eligible for the bulk billing incentive, with all patients having the same access as what we have at the moment with our pensioners and our children. So all Medicare eligible patients will receive the triple bulk billing incentive for the items that currently attract it, along with the standard bulk billing incentive for any other services. Secondly, they're going to create the bulk billing incentive program, or BBPIP, to again incentivize us further to go down the 100% bulk billing pathway. I say 100%, but as you know, there are exclusions, and I will cover that off in this presentation. So practices that choose to join the program and bulk bill all patients for all eligible services, eligible being highlighted because it's not everything, will be paid an additional 12.5% as a quarterly incentive. The payment we receive will be split 50-50, so 50% will go to the practice and 50% will go to the GPs who are participating. So the bulk billing incentive, currently, as you know, we receive a bulk billing incentive when we bulk bill children under the age of 16 and anyone holding a Commonwealth concession care card holder, so pensioners, concession cards. Bulk billing incentives are scaled and increased in the regional, rural and remote communities, as is determined by the modified model, or the MMM, as we like to call it. So I know most of the practices within your area are MMM 1 or 2, so I've highlighted those figures. So that's what you get at the moment if you bulk bill someone who is eligible for the triple bulk billing incentive or the standard incentive. So pretty straightforward, no changes there. So the biggest question I get asked is, what are the eligible services? What do we need to be bulk billing? So basically at the moment, we receive bulk billing incentives for level B, C and D, and E face-to-face. So the 1, 2, 3 or the level E consult is only available to face-to-face. We also receive the bulk billing incentives for home visits, after hours, and any services provided to residential aged care residents. We also receive it for the level B telehealth, so video and telephone. And of course, level C and D are available to patients who are registered with your practice under the My Medicare program. The level E is video only, and that is also available only to patients registered with My Medicare. So lots at the moment that we are receiving. We do receive the standard bulk billing incentive, which will continue for other services. Now, these are the item numbers at the moment that we receive. So these are the item numbers that are going to be what we call eligible services. There's a large range of them, so I'm not going to go through them individually. But as you can see, they basically reflect the common item numbers we use in general practice. So level A through to E. We also have the after hours item numbers, including the health assessments, care plans, or GP, CCMPs, all mental health consults, along with our after hours, including the flag fall, which you would currently charge if you attend a residential aged care facility. So they are the items that are, when I talk about eligible services tonight, they are the items I'm talking about. So basically, whether you choose to participate in the bulk billing incentive program or not, you are still going to receive the bulk billing incentives that come into place November 1. So if you do nothing, you will still be able to access those higher bulk billing incentives for all of your patients, for all of the services you provide. So that's worth, I guess, separating or understanding that they are not tied. You don't have to participate in one to be eligible for the other. They are completely separate. Now let's look at the bulk billing incentive, or the BBPIP, which is also coming into place on the 1st of November. So what is the bulk billing incentive program? It's basically an incentivized payment from the government to encourage general practices to fully bulk bill eligible services. Practices who participate in this will receive an additional 12.5% loading on every MBS dollar paid from the eligible service list, split between the GP and the practice. Participating practices will be eligible if they bulk bill every service for every eligible service for every patient. And the incentive payment is paid in addition to your MBS services. So you'll still receive a normal rebate for any services you provide. This is a payment that is on top of the fee for service. Oops, I think I just jumped one. Why was it introduced? Basically, it's been introduced to support practices to financially continue to bulk bill those patients in the most vulnerable groups. Bulk billing incentives have decreased over the last few years to the point where the government has decided to step in and try to get that bulk billing. So the figures have been dropping steadily since COVID, with a lot more practices choosing to go to the mixed billing model. It's introduced to address the declining bulk billing rates, especially in metropolitan areas, and make GP care more accessible and more affordable for families, concession card holders, and older Australians. So older Australians and concession cards normally get bulk billed anyway, but I think this is basically about everyone in between. What do we need to do? So basically to be to participate in this, we need to register in the program. And to do that, the practices will need to be participating in My Medicare. So you need to register if you are not already registered, which will be done via Medicare. So department is currently working on an additional tile in our organisation register that will appear on November 1, giving us the ability to register through that tile. There is an expression of interest form that is available now, and there is a link to that on the resources page of this presentation. So you can choose to express interest currently if you'd like to. Registration, however, will not start until the 1st of November. Another thing you should really, I guess, take into consideration is you don't have to register on the 1st of November. If you want to sit back and wait for a little while or perhaps see how things go, there is no requirement that you must register on November 1. You can wait till February or March. You do not register on November 1. There is no incentive to actually register as of that day. But if you are an accredited practice, you can, and you're not registered for My Medicare, now is the time to get that process happening. So keep that in mind if you have chosen not to register in the past. To participate, you will need to bulk bill all eligible services, which are standard consults, after hours, home visits, aged care home visits, mental health, chronic disease management, case conferencing, and medication reviews, both home or domestic DMMRs and RMMRs. However, you will not have to bulk bill antenatal, any diagnostic services such as ABI, spirometry, or ECG that you may currently bulk bill in your practice. You can choose to charge a private fee for that. Minor surgical procedures will be exempt from the bulk billing eligibility services, including sutures and removals, and implant, Mirena. So there is quite a list, and of course fractures. So there's still quite an expansive list of things you are able to privately charge and still participate in the BBPIP. So it's not every item number. You will also need to advertise as being 100% bulk billing in the Health Direct's National Health Services Directory and maintain that registration in the Services Directory for the time you are participating in the BBPIP. You must be My Medicare registered, and the important thing is all of your GPs must participate. If you are a practice like mine who has 22 GPs, I have got a lot of different personalities and a lot of different opinions. So If you're a single GP practice, well, the decision will be much easier. But all GPs must agree to participate in order for you to register. If you are a practice that are not already My Medicare registered and wish to participate, you will be able to register in the BBPIP because the My Medicare accreditation requirements have been expanded till the 31st of December 2026 to allow practices patients, to be not penalised if their practice does not participate in this program. So what is the difference between the PIP and this program? So this program is not a PIP payment. This program is linked to My Medicare, whereas the practice incentive is not. Incentive payments will be made through My Medicare, just like our aged care incentive payments are made, and you will have the ability to forecast as you can with your aged care incentive. So you'll be able to run a forecast which will predict your practice's payments at any time you choose. So that is being developed at the moment to be available to us hopefully on November 1. How will the incentives be paid? Basically, they'll be paid quarterly in arrears, with the first payment being in the first quarter of 2026. And again, incentives will be split at 6.25% for practice and 6.25% for practitioners. As was with the aged care incentive, participating practices and GPs will need to nominate the bank account to which the payments will be made. So remembering back to the aged care incentive, we had to go into our practice banking details and nominate a specific account for which the aged care incentive payment was to be paid. This is going to be the same thing. You will need to nominate a bank account for your BBPIP to be paid into. How is the 12.5% calculated? This is really important to understand. The 12.5% will only be paid on the rebate of the service item, and the bulk billing incentive will not be included. What do I mean by that? Let's use an example of a practice located in MMM1 who bulk bills an item 23. They receive a rebate of $43.90. The bulk billing incentive is $21.85, bringing a total of $65.75. The 12.5% will only be calculated on the $43.90. So the bulk billing incentive item numbers are not included on those list of eligible services, so therefore will not be included in your calculations. Basically, it equates to an additional $2.74 for a GP and $2.74 for practices. Obviously, as the MBS increases, the rebates increase each year, we get the calculation or the increase in our rebates, then obviously that will go up. So if you were to bulk bill 30,000 item 23s annually, it's basically an additional $82,000 each. So 164 in total, or $82,312 each. So that's just to give you an idea of how it's actually calculated. A lot of practitioners were under the impression they'd get the 12.5% of the incentive as well. That's not the case. So please keep that in mind when you're making your decisions. So to make a decision, you need to have a discussion. You need to get together as a practice and you need to consider all the factors that may implicate or may be important in your practice. So what my considerations are will not be the same as yours, but just for some food for thought, the first thing you should ask yourself is what percentage do you currently bulk bill? If you are a practice that already bulk bills 95% of your patients, then obviously this is going to be something worth considering. However, if you're a practice that bulk bills 35% and privately charges 65%, it's going to be a different calculation. So that's the first thing I would recommend doing. The other thing you need to look at is retention of GPs. If you are struggling to keep GPs as it is, and you move from mixed billing to a bulk billing practice, are you going to be able to retain your GPs, or are they going to be looking to work somewhere where they're able to earn more money? So again, just things to consider. The other thing to think about is what are other practices doing in your area? Are all the other practices going down the bulk billing incentive pathway? Are they staying mixed billing? Because we've got we've got that competition, I guess. What does that mean if you choose to stay private or mixed billing and all the practices go bulk billing? It could result in a loss of patients. It could result in changes to my Medicare enrollments because patients will register elsewhere where they're going to get bulk billed. There's also the patient expectation. So there is going to be a huge media campaign over the next 4 weeks based around the government informing the general public of the benefits to the bulk billing and what they're doing for us as general practice to encourage us to bulk bill. So you're going to have to deal with the expectation from the patients if you choose not to. So we've already started working with our reception admin staff on how they're going to have that conversation with the patients because they are the ones most likely to be impacted. They're not going to say anything to the GP, but they will certainly raise it with the receptionist once the receptionist advises them there's a charge for today. What model of care are you currently offering? Do you charge for non-eligible services? As I said before, the spirometry and all those other things. Do you charge for surgical minor procedures and fractures? Could you say, okay, let's go down the bulk billing, but increase or add an out-of-pocket to our non-eligible services? So lots and lots of things to consider. Also, the changes to your appointment configuration. You may decide to go bulk billing and have an influx of patients. Are you going to be able to manage those patients? Do you have enough practitioners? So what's the wait time going to be like for your appointments if you choose to do that? So there are so many things to consider than just what the 12.5% means. So I just wanted to throw that there because these are some of the things that in my practice we've been discussing. What's it going to look like for my GPs and for my practice if we choose to go one way or the other? So considerations to throw about in your meeting if you'd like. Now, the important part of tonight, obviously, I think is important to understand that there is now a bulk billing incentive calculator available to us to actually punch in our numbers and get a report or a final estimate of whether we are going to be better off under the BBPIP or not. What I will say is you please make sure you enter your own information. What do I mean by that? I'll show you in a moment. So basically, we're able to use the calculator that's been introduced this week to actually drill down to specifics like where we're located demographically, what our private fees are, what percentage we have of older, younger and older patients, to have a look at how this is going to look in our practice. It only considers BBPIP eligible services and allows adjustments for practices who actually provide tailored payment estimates. And I'm going to show you what that might look like in a moment. So when you open the calculator, the first thing you will see is an explanation page. It will basically go through step by step what you need to do with a hyperlink to a user guide, which you can see on the third paragraph on the bottom in blue, that you can jump straight onto the user guide to make sure that you are actually entering the information correctly. So page 1, this is what you will first see. What role are you? So if you are running the calculator as a practice manager, obviously you'd select practice manager. I don't think it really matters. You would then drop the box down to select your MMM location. So I've chosen Metropolitan purely because most of your practices here tonight are located in the MMM one. And the next section needs to include the percentage that you pay your GP. So if you pay your GP 70%, therefore the billings paid to the practice will be 30%. So this information will come pre-populated. You need to change it. Okay. You then select whether you're currently bulk billing only, whether you're mixed billing, or whether you're 100% private. And that will then create the next screen. Now, these numbers will populate based on the number of GPs you have. So they'll look at what they estimate a MMM1 general practitioner will generate in a year. Again, these figures may not be the same. So when I ran this the first time, I ignored that and I ran it again and changed it. And we had an additional I think we were 10,000 services. So it changed everything. So please make sure that you calculate exactly how many services you provided, not what the government says is an average for your location. And the bottom one is the percentage of patients you have that were provided, or the services that you provided previously that were to concession card holders or children under 16. Now, I know one of the questions is going to be, where do I get that information from? So if you're a practice that uses Cubico will certainly give you that information. There are reports available in both best practice and medical director, but they are really clunky. So I ran about 6 reports today to get the information that I needed. They are available. And the most common was the services by item. First of all, that gave me the percentage I bulk bill and privately charge. It also individually broke down each of the services that were standard 23s, and then there's 23 with the bulk billing incentive to give me a better picture. The problem, what it didn't give me was, of those bulk bill incentives, how many were children. So it's very difficult to get that information from your clinical software. So once you've entered this information, this is the important page. So again, this will pre-populate. So if you change nothing, your figures will not be accurate. So the first column is the proportion of services you charge that you provided under each category. So your level A, if we look at this as an example, your level A was 4.56% of your total services. Level B was 68%, and then it goes down. And that figure must add up to 100. Okay. Once you have added those figures in, you then need to calculate the proportion of concession or under 16s who are bulk billed. Now, we bulk bill 100% of ours except for weekends. So it would be actually easier if you bulk billed 100% of people who are on a concession card and under 16. It will make your figures so much easier because you just put 100% in each of those columns. But we don't, because we privately charge on weekends. So that skewed our figures a little bit. The third column is the proportion of all other patients who are bulk billed. So it might be that, you have, at the moment, if you're 100% bulk billing practice, well, obviously your figures are going to be 100%. It's going to be 60% for under 16s and 40% for everyone else. That will give you 100%. So this is where you need to get the data, and this is where it's going to take you the time. The final column is very important. This is where you list your current private fees. So their figures that are here were pre-populated. Our standard consult is $96. So I added an additional $14 per service onto this, which changed our figures completely. So please make sure when you are entering the data that's presented to you, or the squares that are presented to you, that you ensure that you are entering in information to give you the right answer. If you leave things as they are, you're not going to get a practice-specific report. You're going to get a generalized report. So once you have gone through each of those columns and entered your information, it will then calculate this wonderful layout. The green is the recommendation. So based on the figures I put in, which were not my figures, it's telling me that I am better off going down the BBPIP pathway. As you can see, it's telling me that my services prior to November 1 were $395,000. My services as of November 1, with the expansion of the bulk billing incentive, were $416. And it's only going to give me an additional 54, I think it's going to be an additional, $1,000 to participate in the BBPIP because I'm losing $167,000 in private fees. So as a practice who intends to increase their fees next year, we'll be worse off going down the BBPIP pathway. So run your numbers, look at each of the figures. So the first one is your current figures. The middle one will be what you do if you do nothing else, because you'll get the bulk billing incentive for all patients, regardless of whether you choose to participate in BBPIP. The final one is the estimate with the included 12.5%, remembering that there's only 50% of that to the practice, giving you an additional, not even $1,000, I think. So keep that in mind. The calculator is a great tool if you use it properly. You then get a summary, and it basically tells me my estimated income prior to November 1 was $395. My estimated income with the BB incentive will be $416 because there's an additional $21,000 for the bulk billing incentive. And then with the BBPIP, there's an additional $22,000, but your patients saved $74,000. So again, your practice, it says you estimate your payments will increase. However, by looking at it, it's only $1,019 increase for participating in the BBPIP, which is that bottom figure under the 22,180. The 1019 is the difference between just the BB incentive and participating in the bulk billing incentive program. So I hope that clarifies. I hope I haven't confused you more, but please get onto that calculator, put in your figures. You'll be surprised. But as I said, if your figures aren't accurate or they're not practice specific, the data is not going to be correct. I talked before about an expression of interest form that's now available. If you are on the calculated page, down the very bottom, there is a link to register or register for an expression of interest. And it is an online form where you basically just enter your information and your practice ID. Are you bulk billing? Do you want to become a fully bulk billing practice? And sign up to the BBPIP, and you just submit it, and that will put your expression of interest in. So come November or come prior to November, you will be available to access all of the additional resources that the government is promising will be available between now and November 1. So even if you choose not to go down that pathway, it might be worth putting in an expression of interest, because you will then give you the availability to access the upcoming information. Now, I wanted to share with you a screenshot. So this is basically, for those who are unaware, on I think it was the 19th of March this year, if you go into your Proda inbox, there was a letter from Mark Butler basically inviting you to participate, giving you your practice's details. So this is my practice. I've changed things around a little bit so that the information was not, I'm not sharing private information. So this is basically figures made up, but this is what it looked like. The first section told me my 2024 billing, including the total number of services. So for 2024, my practice provided 57,000 eligible services. So these are only services that are from that eligible service list, which gave a rebate or figure of $2.5 million to my practitioners. There was an additional $1.3 million from private fees, plus bulk billing incentives for patients who were eligible in 2024, giving my practice a total revenue of $4.6 million. Again, they're not real figures, with the total out of pockets for patients being $677. So that is what they gave me as my data. The second section they gave me is what my data would look like, or what my numbers will look like if once we get the expansion of the bulk billing incentive. So not the program, just the BBI, which is the second section. Again, same number of services, same benefits to GP, and same out-of-pockets for the patients, with an additional 1.184, which is adding in the bulk billing incentive only, taking my practice's revenue from 4.6 to $5 million with the same out-of-pockets for patients. Okay. The bottom one is the predictions under the bulk billing incentive program. So again, same number of services, the rebates to the patient or the revenue for all services. So they've included the 2.5 million that we previously had and then added the bulk billing component of the private patient's fees, giving me a total of 3.1 million for all my services. No out-of-pockets for the patient or no private charges for the patient, which then equates to $3.196 million or total billing. So the bulk billing practice incentive payment is based only on the 3.1 million. That's why I've highlighted in blue. 12.5% equals 399,000. So my figures are 5.1. So what I can guess highlight is from my total billings, when I just included the bulk billing incentive of 5,039,000, whereas if I go 100% bulk billing, I'm only going to get 5,189,000. So it's an additional 150,000. So it is an addition, but you need to run the figures. So if you have not seen this letter, go into your Proda account. Practice managers, you will find it in your personal Proda email box, not in the organisation's box. So you need to go and log in as yourself, and it will be available under your My Practice emails, and you'll be able to. There's a letter from Mark Butler saying this is what I'd like to do, and they will then estimate your figure. So if you're struggling to get the reports of what you were previously, this will give you that information to help you populate the calculator. So as you can see, each practice is different. Now, I'm hopefully going to cover off the department very kindly released a series of questions and answers that they foresee coming up. So I'm going to run through those with you, and hopefully that will address any questions that may have popped into your head while I'm talking. So the first one was, do I have to join? And what if you want to stop? So what do you have to join, and what happens if you decide you don't want to do it anymore? Basically, it's voluntary. You do not have to join, and you can choose to opt in or out at any time. So you are not tied to a minimum period. You can opt in, give it a month, but this is not working, and you can opt out again. So that's something you should be very much aware of. The difference between the BBPIP and the PIP is basically that the BBPIP is linked to my Medicare, while the practice incentive payment is not. So basically, as you know, practice incentive provides us with incentive payments for providing quality improvements and additional care to a series of different activities. This is basically purely based on billings. And the incentive payments under the BBPIP will be made through the organisation register, just as our aged care incentives are. Can I still claim the bulk billing incentive items if my practice doesn't join BBPIP? Absolutely. All practices able to join will be automatically given the incentive regardless of whether you choose to participate in the BBPIP or not. What are the eligibility requirements? We covered this off, but I wanted to basically summarise with it. You must bulk bill all eligible services for all Medicare patients, be registered with My Medicare, and if you are not registered or you're a new practice, you will be available to claim the exemption for the accreditation requirements up until December 2026. How do your practice advertise? Basically, practices will be expected to advertise as fully bulk billed on Health Direct's National Health Services Directory. You'll be required to indicate your participation through signage within your practice, enabling ease of identification for patients. And there is going to be information released very, very soon on how you can update your Health Direct's listing to ensure that you reflect the 100% bulk billing. So there is going to be information available to you prior to November 1 on how you will update your current listing to reflect the fact that you are now, if you choose to be, 100% bulk billing. And we covered this really. Practices registered must continue to meet. So if you are a registered practice in My Medicare and currently accredited, you need to continue to maintain accreditation with a 12-month. And if you are not registered, then you need to obtain accreditation within 12 months of registering. And if you are not registered, so you have not registered for the My Medicare program, you are eligible for the exemption up until December 2026. So you can actually participate in the BBPIP and not have to meet any of the requirements, because remember, patients don't need to be registered for My Medicare for you to participate. So there is no link to My Medicare under this program as where there is for other services. So no link at all. Patients don't have to be registered for you to receive the incentive and the BBPIP incentive. If you have multiple locations and you work across multiple locations, do you need to bulk bill at all of those locations? No. Each individual location will be able to decide whether they want to participate or not. So you might have three sites and choose 2 to be bulk billing and 1 to stay mixed billing. So you do not have to bulk bill across every service if you agree to or engage or participate in the incentive program at one of your practices. So again, you work at 2 practices, you do not have to participate in both. It's voluntary for you. The other question I often get raised was, what happens when we get new patients? Do we have to have, we've got our books closed. How are we going to take new patients? There is no requirement for you to take new patients to participate in the BBPIP. So if you have closed your books to new patients, it is not going to exclude you from participating in this program. Sole practitioners, can you register? Absolutely. You can register before both My Medicare and the bulk billing incentive program. If you're a sole provider, if you are already registered, then you have the ability for the accreditation exemption, as I said previously, up to December 31st. So you have got till December 2026 to be accredited. If you're not registered, you can certainly join the BBPIP and be exempt from that same requirement. The exemption from My Medicare is available to all new practices registering in My Medicare to participate in BBPIP. So keep that in mind if you've thought about it but haven't actually made the jump yet about whether you register for My Medicare or whether you register for accreditation. Can Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisation or ACCHOs participate? Absolutely. Any organisation that provides Medicare funded services can participate. Can medical deputising services be funded through the PIP? That one is to be advised. So basically, they're considering the eligibility of different practice types for participation. So there is no answer. They're not saying no. They're just not saying yes yet. Once they have determined that, then there'll be further guidance once they decide whether deputising services can participate. The system will be up and live on the 1st of November through the organisation register. So go onto your organisation register. There will be a brand new tile called BBPIP, or the Bulk Billing Practice Incentive Program, which is currently being built by Services Australia as we speak. If you're not registered for My Medicare and want to get on the platform, now is the time to get yourself self-registered, because you can encourage registrations if you choose to go down the bulk billing incentive pathway. You can basically encourage patients to sign up for you to enable you to access or be sure of provision of services for chronic management or chronic disease management, and the changes coming in November for mental health. And again, more information to follow prior to November 1, which we're October 1 tomorrow, so hopefully it will come around soon. There's been a lot released in the last few days. You do not need to re-register. If you're currently registered for My Medicare, you do not need to re-register for it. So that's a no to that. And do your patients need to be registered? As I said, no. Patients do not need to be registered for My Medicare at your practice for you to be eligible to participate. So it's not based on the number of patients you have registered. But it is always a good opportunity to say to your patients, if you choose to go down in participating with the BBPIP, we are going to offer you 100% bulk billing for all eligible services. However, we would ask for you to join our practices as your preferred provider and sign the My Medicare form. Now, do I need to bulk bill non-eligible services? That is definitely a no. So if you choose to privately charge your fractures and sutures and antenatal and other things, you are absolutely able to do that. However, they did mention in my reading that the eligible item list is subject to change over time. So it could be that they're going to remove items, they might go to add more items, and that will be available to in advance to the department's website, and I do believe the PHN will be notified if there's any changes as well. So currently the list is as we've already seen, but that may change over time. DVA, I often get asked, is DVA the same? It's basically the same, but you will only be paid. The important thing, I guess, for this is, as you know, DVA rebates are slightly higher than Medicare. You will only be paid the 12.5% on the Medicare equivalent of the DVA service. So if a 23 is $43.90, whereas DVA it could be $44.90, you will only be paid the 12.5 on the $43.90. Now, how will the incentive payments be made? They'll be made quarterly in arrears. And basically the assessment periods are as follows. So the 4 quarters, very similar to the My Medicare or the aged care incentive payments. However, there is an inaugural assessment period. So basically for your very first payment, services will only be considered from the November 1 to the 31st of December. That will bring the payments into line for the 1 January. So 1 January to 31 March will be quarter 1 of the year. So services, as the program starts in November, services will only be calculated from November 1 to 31st of December for your very first payment to bring you into line with the quarters that they have recommended. And again, how is it calculated? Based at 12.5% on the MBS income only. And a practice must bulk bill all of those eligible services in order to retain that with a 50-50 gap. So this is basically a recap. Payments will be made through the organisation register. So again, you'll be able to see your payments. Why was the decision made to split 50-50? There's been a lot of, I guess, a lot of questions, a lot of discussion about why this was made. Why did GPs not get a higher percentage? Why did practices not get a higher percentage? Basically, it was decided to go 50-50, recognising the importance that both roles play in delivering Medicare services. So the GP obviously delivers the services, but cannot do that without a practice to work from. So that is the reasoning behind the 50-50 split, because it's aimed to also support practices to perhaps change their model of billing. Another question was asked, what if I don't want to split it? Basically, the money will be paid without your consent. So you will get, if you're a GP practice owner, you will only get your 6.25%. The practitioners will get that, their own percentage, but you may wish to review your business arrangements to take into consideration this incentive. So you will not get the payment and then have to disperse it to your GPs. The GPs will actually receive that. And you don't need to track things because it will basically be automated and money will be calculated based on the services you provide in that quarter. Yes, you go to My Medicare, you select your banking details and you add that in, and the calculation will commence, as I said, with a back date from November 1 to the 31st of December. Anything that is calculated will be based on the date of service. So if you build $1,000 worth of services that were held previously prior to November 1, they will not be calculated. So the date of service is what they'll use to determine eligibility. Another question I get asked frequently is, what happens if I accidentally charge a patient for one of the eligible services? Accidents happen, particularly if you are still able to charge for other services. What do I do? The department will have a process in place for you to basically contact and let them know that you have made an error. And the same as we do at the moment, there will be a form that you can complete or process that will be introduced to allow us to notify Medicare of our error and change the previously lodged service or claim. And there's going to be how they're going to do that is still in the exploring stage. BBPIP and payroll tax. I'm not an expert on payroll tax, but the information was there, so I thought I'd include it. Basically, you're a private business. It's a responsibility of the owner or the contractor to seek expert advice on how this BBPIP is going to affect you in relation to payroll tax. So just worth mentioning that is a consideration as well. Now, very quickly, 2 slides. I want to talk about the changes coming to November 1 for mental health. Basically, come November 1, item number 2712, which is a review of a mental health plan, and item 2713, which is a mental health consult, will be removed from the MBS, and GPs will only be able to charge time-based items. Mental health plans will remain, as will all of the services that are attached to the mental health plan. So the 10 services per calendar year, nothing will change apart from the fact that we are losing 2 item numbers. The other thing that's slightly different to the chronic condition management, if your patient is registered with your practice at My Medicare, there is no guarantee that another practice will not be able to provide a mental health plan. What do I mean by that? Basically, it could be that the patient sees you for everything except their mental health, where they see another GP. If that GP provides regular mental health consults or has a history of providing regular services to the patient under the mental health program, that GP will be able to continue to bill mental health plans. So there's not that exclusion where if they are registered with you, then no one else can provide that charge, which is really, I think, important to understand, because there is still a risk that that service may have been billed elsewhere. So brief summary, 2712 to 2713 will be removed. General attendance item numbers will be used, and patients should be referred to either their My Medicare registered practitioner or the usual mental health provider. So as I said, another GP who may perhaps provide services for the patient. Here is a list of current resources, which is up to date as of today, with everything in it, including the calculator that I have spoken about tonight. And I'm now going to stop sharing my screen and see whether we have any questions. And I'm really hoping that I covered as many of them as possible.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much. That was so great and so informative. I think you covered pretty much a lot of the questions, which was really great in there. And don't forget this, everybody, this is being recorded tonight, and we will have a copy of the slides so we can send that out to you also, so you can sort of go through it and take your time and work out what you need to do for your practice. I'll just check in with the girls. Amy and Kayla, were there any other questions?
No, there were no other questions.
Right. I think the girls have been typing away also and answering some of the questions on the side, which is really great. So thanks for that. So I think that's probably it, Wendy. I think you've done a great job in covering it all. So I think thank you so much for the presentation, all the work that's been put into that. There's so much information, and I think you've covered it off really thoroughly. So, and like I said, I think people have got to go away and have a look at this for their own practice, and just take it all in and bit by bit, and have a look at the calculator and play with the calculator. And if you need any support out there, please don't hesitate to contact our practice support and digital health teams. We can come out and go through it all with you also. Sorry, Wendy, go on.
I think the take-home message is have the discussion at your practice.
Yeah.
Talk to your GPs, give them the advice, give them the information that you've gleaned tonight so that you can help to make an informed decision that's going to be best for you and your practitioners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important. I think the other thing is you don't have to do it on the 1st of November. It's not a rush. So, unless you're absolutely, definitely, you know what you're doing and you want to do it, then you can go ahead and do it. But yeah, there's no big rush for the 1st of November. So just a reminder that there'll be an evaluation survey online pop up for you to fill in. So please fill it in. It helps us with our future education opportunities for you and your team, and give us some feedback on our presentation tonight. Thank you, Wendy, much appreciated. Thank you, Amy and Kayla and Bertha, really appreciate it. Please don't hesitate to reach out for more support. Thanks again.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.